Stories of ghosts who seek out the living are usually stories of tragedy, tales of spirits so desperate to communicate that they reach out from beyond the grave to warn us of danger or reveal secrets of their untimely demise. But every once in a while, the ghost has something else on their mind, like solving a murder, for example. That is what happened in West Virginia in 1897, when the spirit of a murdered woman presented her mother with the clue that would crack open her killer eat-eating case. It was 1897, and Ida Chapman was living with her daughter Elizabeth in the small town of Summersville, West Virginia. The pair had moved there from Kentucky not long before. They were simple folk. Ida worked as a seamstress and sometimes took in ironing to do in order to make extra money. And Elizabeth, known as Lizzie, was engaged to be married to a man named John Thomas. The couple planned to marry on December and were making preparations for their future together. But just 2 weeks before the wedding, Elizabeth went missing. She vanished without a trace. Her body wasn't found until 3 days later on December 24th. It was discovered at the bottom of a well dressed in the clothes she'd been wearing when she disappeared. Right away, suspicion fell on a man named Edward Newby, who lived nearby. Edward had been acting strangely in the weeks leading up to Lizzie's disappearance. He'd sold all his property and taken off his wedding ring. Witnesses also reported seeing him walking in the direction of the Chapman home on the day Elizabeth went missing. Then there was the fact that Edward was an ex-convict who'd served time for killing a man during a fight. When officers searched his home, they found a bloody shirt that matched Lizzie's description and several women's combs that had belonged to Lizzie. All things considered, he was arrested for her murder. But at his trial, the prosecution lacked a murder weapon and no direct evidence that tied Edward to the crime. So, after deliberating for 2 hours, the jury came back with a not guilty verdict. Everyone, including the police, was baffled. How could someone commit murder without leaving behind any evidence? What happened to Lizzie's body after she was killed? Why did the killer put her in a well, and how did he even kill her? The questions were endless, and it seemed as though the answers would never be found. Except one person refused to give up on finding justice for her daughter. Ida Chapman, Lizzie's mom, didn't believe Edward was guilty, not only because she knew in her heart that he was innocent, but because she knew for a fact that he was innocent. 2 nights after his release, Edward had returned home to find Ida standing on his porch with a pistol. She wanted him to take her to her daughter's body. When Edward protested, insisting he didn't know where her body was, Ida shot him right then and there. Now, Ida was charged with murder. Without the body, the prosecution couldn't prove that a murder had actually occurred. So Edward was free to go. Again, he was so grateful for his narrow escape that he left town immediately and headed south. Meanwhile, Ida sat alone in jail, refusing food and drink, and determined to go on a hunger strike until she got her revenge. Well, maybe that's not exactly what she was doing. In reality, she was placed in solitary confinement due to her increasingly strange behavior. One night, as the jail's guards made their rounds, they heard Ida singing at the top of her lungs. God damn, I'll hang for murder yet," she sang over and over again. As soon as they opened the cell door, however, she fell silent. She was sitting straight up in bed, eyes wide and staring blankly into space. Ida's time in solitary continued. Her mental state continued to deteriorate, and she began claiming that she'd seen Lizzie's ghost. She said the ghost appeared to her in the middle of the night and told her that she was dead. And according to Ida, the ghost revealed Edward's name and gave her the address of the house he'd been living in when he was arrested. But that wasn't all. The ghost also revealed what had happened to her body. According to Ida, Lizzie's ghost told her that her body was covered in leaves by the well, and that she would lead her mother to her remains. Ida begged the guard to let her go to the well to retrieve them, but he refused, believing that she was insane. That same night, Ida's jail cell was filled with the sound of rushing water. She sat perfectly still, eyes closed as if riding in a boat. When the guard peered through the bars, he saw that her face was illuminated by a mysterious light. Then suddenly, just like that, the apparition was gone. In the morning, the jailer had Ida transferred back to her cell in the main jail building, but that night she had another ghostly vision. This time, Lizzie appeared to her again and told her that she had to leave town. The ghost said she'd met a man by the name of Tom, who would help her find her body. Once again, Lizzie claimed that she was going to lead her mother to the spot where her body lay. The next morning, Ida demanded to be released so that she could search for her daughter's body. Her request was denied, but that didn't stop her from trying to get outside. In the middle of the night, Ida managed to shimmy through a window and escape the jail. It was bitterly cold outside and snow was falling, so she didn't make it far. She collapsed in the yard and was soon found by two men. They took her back to the jail and turned her over to the warden. By this point, Ida had become a local celebrity of sorts. Reporters from nearby Charleston showed up to cover her story. They interviewed her about her claims of ghostly visions. She told them that she believed her daughter's ghost was trying to show her where her body was buried so that she could be given a proper burial. She also admitted that she'd tried to shoot Edward, and when asked why, she replied that he'd killed her daughter and was only pretending to be innocent. As the crowd gathered around Ida, listening intently, one of the reporters asked, "Why don't you tell us where the body is and end all this?" Ida smiled mysteriously and said, "I will tell you where she is. Before many days pass, I feel like the Lord has given me strength to find my child." Everyone waited anxiously for Ida to reveal where the body was, but she remained silent. And finally, the sheriff stepped forward and cut her release. He said, "I've had enough of your nonsense. You're going to be locked up until we can decide what to do with you." But little did everyone know, Ida had already done what she set out to do. On Christmas morning, she'd snuck out of her cell and made the trek down to the old abandoned well where Lizzie's body was found. Using a small shovel, she dug up the body and reburied it near her own home. Now, when she stood in the jail yard, she wasn't looking at a well, she was looking at her backyard. Over the next few days, Ida told her tale to anyone who would listen. Meanwhile, the local sheriff and jail staff investigated her claims. Soon, they paid a visit to the well to see if they could find the girl's body. It was there that they stumbled upon the exact spot Ida had described. Sure enough, they found Lizzie's body just where her mother had said it would be. It was clear that Ida's visions had led the police to her daughter's remains, but no one was sure how exactly she managed to find the body. The press wrote about the strange case, and people began to speculate that Ida might be mentally unstable after all. Some wondered if she'd been covering up for her daughter's killer this whole time, burying the body herself and then faking visions in order to throw off the cops. Others believed that Ida was truly blessed with psychic abilities. After all, she hadn't just led the police to her daughter's body, she'd led them to the exact spot. Whatever the truth may have been, it didn't really matter to the townspeople. For them, the mystery of the Greenbrier ghost had captured their imaginations and wouldn't let go. The story spread across the country and eventually made its way to England. It inspired a popular musical, numerous books, and even a Hollywood movie starring Gene Tierney and Mel Ferrer. These days, it's considered a local legend, and people still come to Summersville to learn more about the eerie event that took place here. Thank you for watching. Do you think Ida's visions were real, or was she covering for her daughter's killer? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And remember to subscribe if you haven't already for more historical hauntings each week.